Hello and welcome to another episode of Evening Crypto with your boy, your host, the real Sean 256. And tonight we, as usual, are not going to be talking about the news. We're going to go ahead and dive straight into the charts. For this edition, I actually want to talk about a few traditional market stocks, and we're going to talk about a little bit of some important stocks and kind of what's going on with the S&P, the Nasdaq. I mean, pretty much traditional markets. We're going to try to keep it pretty short and sweet, so that you guys get at least what, in my opinion, is the top things to talk about in regards to the market and trading, and then we'll also, of course, the main focus here is always the Bitcoin chart. So we'll talk about that one as well. We'll get into a few alts. I hope to keep it as short as possible, so that I'm not taking too much of your time, and you guys do again get that critical information for your trading days, and kind of let you know what I'm looking at as well. So let's do a quick recap of the market. We're currently sitting at 187.4, and trading volumes down to 61 billion again. With things looking pretty gloomy for the most part, although there have been a few exceptions. Of course, what is this? Well, that's back, so that doesn't really count. And then everybody's talking about Matic. Yep. Had just a massive, massive dump. I mean, it was up over 100% in the last couple of months, and all of a sudden just decided to take just a huge dump. Right. We'll actually talk about that here to start things off. I don't usually trade this coin, but let's actually take a look at it and see what we're getting into here. Yeah, pretty bad. I mean, there's from a TA standpoint, there really wasn't much of an explanation to explain the run up, and then also explain the dump, right? But I mean, this is pretty obvious. What strikes me as really fishy and just very shady is that CZ already came out and exonerated them. I mean, right off the bat. I mean, there's no hesitation. Was there even an investigation? I don't know. It just seemed like he right away went out of his way to tweet about the Matic people at Matic or Matic, whatever. Matic, I guess that's the correct pronunciation. I don't know. You guys can correct me. But I mean, he just came right out off the bat, guns blazing, and just exonerated them from any ill will or any mal practice there. I wouldn't be so quick. I mean, basically he's sort of taking this on his shoulder, right? Because he's saying that based on what they saw, Matic did not have anything to do with the dump, the sudden dump here. I beg to differ. And if you're going to if you're going to run an investigation, shouldn't it be more of a more of an independent investigation into the dealings of this sort of situation, not your own team, not your own people, and because keep in mind, look, if we look up Matic, right? How many exchanges are actually trading it? Looks like, well, those are longs, so it doesn't really matter. Let's just go with Matic, right? I mean, there's these are longs. So I mean, there's a shortage. I mean, it looks like crypto FTX, right? It looks like FTX is also trading it, as you can see here. These are traditional. This thing's an OTC. I mean, so there's a very short list. I mean, actually, just two, from what it looks like, two different exchanges trading Matic, or whatever you call it, Matic. Gosh. Anyway, yeah, there's only a couple of exchanges. So I mean, really, where could where else could this have happened? Like, where else could it have gone wrong, right? and I just really don't like. It just raises a lot of suspicion on just, I don't know, maybe my thought process is a little skewed, but I never, I never go out of my way to talk badly about anyone in particular or anybody, but this just seems like awfully weird that he's just, right off the bat saying that they had nothing to do with it when they're really the only exchange that trades it. I mean, what kind of volume can we expect out of FTX, right? Over Binance when it comes to these coins. So, um, I would have been, a little. I mean, not that it really matters, but I would have been a little bit more at ease if they would have sublet this investigation out to, somebody who is qualified, who is impartial, who is outside of the Binance team and Matic team. So that would have been a lot more transparent. That would have been probably the right thing to do. But this is crypto, and that the right thing to do isn't always something that's a priority, unfortunately. And even for somebody with the stature of Binance and CZ, it just a very disappointing, a very just a telltale sign of what we are dealing with. It's still pretty much the wild west within crypto when you're trading. So I've always told you guys, I've always preached this to anybody who's coming in to this space to trade, to buy, to invest. You got to be real careful with this sort of thing, and try to stay away from these things. I kind of feel pretty good about myself not being exposed to this, because I usually will not trade shit coins. I usually will not trade these cryptos. So I feel pretty fortunate that I made that decision after doing my due diligence, after having spent some time here in this space and really getting to know what's what, and really diving into the really deep I guess makeup of this space, and really, man, you guys have to be really, really careful and just be really with just be on alert and on the defensive all the time. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I mean, you see this thing. I really feel bad for the people who were buying in. I mean, bought this top just thinking that it was going to keep going up, and they got wrecked. So if any YouTubers out there, any crypto Twitter personalities out there telling you to buy this crap, or telling you to buy some other crap, I would urge you to stay away from it, and just stick to the usually maybe top 10 guys. It's really hard to recommend anything outside of that. Maybe top 15, maybe top 20 on some occasions, but it's just really something that I try to really, really stay away from on the most part. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully you guys did not get hurt by this event, and hopefully, if you did, I mean, hopefully you're learning something. Now, that all that being said, usually there's, with such a dramatic drop, there is a bounce, right? So if you're holding Matic, I do think that there's going to be a bounce, especially if everything else starts to bounce again. We'll get into that and talk about whether whether there is something in the market that indicates that that might be the case, and so you may not be completely SOL if you wait out a little bit. It's not financial advice, but I just feel bad, man. I really feel bad. But after such a dramatic drop, there's usually a bounce. There's usually a bounce. Usually, right? So I mean, I don't know what. It's just such a hard thing. If you put money in this thing and you lost a lot of your money, I mean, look, let's just put a measurement on this drop here from this point to. I mean, ultimately, it dipped all the way down to, what is this? 0.01116. That's a 73% drop. Currently, where we are sitting at, it's at 58, 60%. I mean, that's a massive, massive loss. So again, hopefully you're not being hurt by this. Hopefully you weren't exposed to this. If you follow this channel, I really tell you guys and preach against it. So hopefully you were not involved in this. But yeah, that's all I got for that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you guys have found any new information about how this came about, I know CZ is probably going to do his his part to make sure that the real truth doesn't really get out, because he seems to be interested in not taking any blame for it, nor the Matic team taking any blame for it. It's just going to be really hard to get the truth out of something like this, unfortunately. All right, so let's move on and talk about better things, to actually get into Bitcoin now and look at this current trend that we have been in for quite a while. If you want to put a name to it, we've been on this trend since June of 2019. This is sort of the macro trend. And what I want to talk about this is these two things, right? There's a macro trend and there's a micro trend going on as well at the same time. So we definitely want to talk about that and address that. So, as we were making the descent all the way down to retest this bottom area of support here, it kind of took a while after this 43% run up, just massive, very violent run up, to retest this prior area of resistance, and then made a gradual drop, but significant drop nonetheless, giving back just about all of this. I mean, if we do from wick to wick, right, giving back about 36%, right? So I mean, it pretty much gave it all back, right? So we have we have been again caught within this descending channel, descending wedge, if you will, where we have been, touching the top, touching the bottom, touching the top, touching the bottom, and then now we're sort of caught right in the smack middle of this trend here, of this channel here. So I want to be aware of this because, again, as we were making our way down, with some people like myself, I told you guys I had my originally had set my buying orders at 7,200, and then decided to move them up just because, sometimes, your head plays games with you, and you sort of get antsy and you want to be in a trade. I went against the fundamental process of trading, which is to, if you think something's going to happen, then follow that, and then let the market prove you wrong, right? But I was completely in the right by setting my buy orders at like 72, 7,300. But then I moved them up just because, I got a little antsy. I got a little too just anxious to get in the market and start trading again, just because I wasn't doing much trading wise, but then so as the price started to come down to about the $7,600 mark, I started entering back into Bitcoin. But look, I mean, it's just such a bad move, right? Because if you look at this, here's what I'm looking for. Where's my little box? It's not what I'm looking for. Is this it? No, this is it. So if we analyze it, right, this is that zone where I bought back into the market, and I shouldn't have done it, right? Because look at that. I mean, we still have, as this trend has been letting us know, there's, we are going to come back down and retest this previous area of support here. So, we did it once, 2, 3, and now 4 times, right? So, got a little antsy, entered prematurely, and look what happened to me, right? I mean, I still went back in at 6,600, and I tweeted right when I saw this bottom here. I did tweet because that meant that we did touch the bottom of this support line, and very likely there was going to be a bounce. And I tweeted, and I luckily did leave some cash on the table to where I could make an entry here, and I did, and it turned out to be quite a successful trade. So now at this point, one, make sure you keep hold your ground when these sort of things happen. Your mind starts playing tricks with you. Just remember to be patient. I should have done that, and I didn't. So learn from my mistakes. Do not do that. Stick to your guns. Stand your ground. These things shall happen. Now, from here, we are stuck in the middle of this channel, right? So I've been telling you guys, I do think we are due for a retest of this previous line of descending resistance, and I do think we're going to do it. I do think we're going to get there. It is grinding out right now, but the fact that we haven't, but here's the thing, the macro trend, if you will. Let's actually, so we were just talking about the macro. Let's actually talk about the micro trend, and here's kind of what's going on, right? We are touching this ascending line of support here, and we haven't lost this pivot point, nor have we lost this ascending line of ascending line of support. So basically what this means is it is following this path. It is in this sort of triangle again, as Bitcoin does really just sticks to on 100% basis. It seems like there's always a triangle. Bitcoin's always forming some sort of triangle, and it might be just because of the premature or the premature nature of this market and the shallowness, the lack of liquidity, that these things are very easy to paint, right? So you're going to see this thing forming all the time. But it really helps out for that novice trader, for that people who hasn't been trading or haven't been trading for that long, to really get used to these formations, to get even more comfortable quicker than you would in traditional markets, just because these sort of things are happening a lot more frequently in crypto than they do anywhere else. So again, just because there's confirmation that we touched it once here, again here, and now we're touching the bottom. We are stuck within this trend, but here's again, we are due for a move to the upside, to retest this area of descending resistance here, as we did, and we have to be patient. I remember saying, I think a video or two ago, that we have to be patient. This move could take us into the new year, end of this year at least, and maybe into the new year. Crypto is funky, and it could happen at any moment, but just based on the slowness, just sort of the grindingness, if that's even a word, of this formation here, where we're there's a lack of volume, lack of buyers here, and more so, there's been a little in recent history, there's been more sellers than there are buyers. So we get this natural droopy price action here, where it's leading us to believe that we are definitely retesting this bottom area of support. But again, as long as we don't lose this previous pivot, as long as we don't lose this bottom area of ascending support, we are okay. We're still within this trend. Now, again, we should remain within this triangle here. We should hopefully find this support, not breaking this previous pivot, and come back and retest this again, the top of this triangle. Hopefully we will break out at this point, and then go retest the top of this descending channel here, the macro trend. Hopefully that's making sense. If not, I mean, the other probability is that we do something like this, right? We also can come back and retest the top here, and then come back down, and then finally break out and retest the top of this descending channel. All right, so I'll leave this here for now. That's kind of what's going on the lower time frames. On the more immediate time frame, let's actually go back and look at the daily and see what the daily is telling us. Just a little bit better look at that. Again, there's definitely more room to the downside, but we've it's kind of sort of like with this price action, what we see here is kind of what's going on here, right? Maybe there will be another drop before we actually again, like we just mentioned, maybe it'll be a more drastic drop, and then we'll come back from here maybe, and finally retest that, right? I mean, these are possible scenarios, and these are the things that I'm looking at as possibilities. If we do lose this pivot here and this ascending line of support, and we do lose this pivot, then expect a retest of this prior area of support here, right around 5,900. For all those people who on crypto Twitter who have been calling for a sub $6,000 price in Bitcoin, then that would be in the cards at that point. Again, if we lose this pivot, this line of support, this pivot, then that'll be the next step. So take it step by step. But if we break down from here, breaking down from this previous pivot, it'll probably mean that we are going to retest it. It's the possibility of that happening is actually very, very possible. We do see it here. It happened here, right? It also happened here. So this is, again, these are trends, and history doesn't rhyme, or history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes, right? So and then also the daily is also letting us know there's more room to the downside here. It is right on top of the 21 exponential here on the stochastic. It does look like it's got some decision and some momentum to the downside to actually break down below the 21 here. We did see a bounce here, but now we're seeing that Bitcoin's coming back down and actually breaking through that 21 EMA there, and it is signaling that we do have a little bit more room. So maybe this sort of move is probably the likely move that we actually come back and retest. All right, so these are all possible scenarios, right? These are all things that we should be paying attention, that should be on top of mind when we are trading these markets, right? Now, also keep in mind, if you're a novice trader, if you've been here, maybe not that long, and you're trying to learn to trade, learn these things, learn these trends, just know this, and this is very, very important. If you're new, you probably shouldn't be trading under these conditions, right? Because we mainly, this is very significant. This is the biggest thing you need to take away from this video tonight, is that we are on a downtrend. Doesn't mean that we can't make money on a downtrend. That's not what I'm saying. But if you are a novice trader, if you're just getting into these markets, you're excited, you want to trade these markets, you want to make some money, this is not the right time for you to do it. This is the right time to start learning. Maybe open up like one of those trading accounts or practice accounts where you're not actually staking any money, but you can make some trades. But at this point, just know it's really up to the professionals who have done this for a very, very long time to make money on a downtrend. Right now, this is very dangerous territory. You should not be trading this if you don't have the proper skill, the proper experience on such a trend here. I mean, look at this. We've been on a downtrend for the last almost 6 months now, and it will continue until it doesn't. And there's no real indication as to where we are. When we do change. This is certainly not an indication that we are about to change. This is certainly an indication that we're going to continue on this downtrend, right? I've already heard some people entering some longs at this point, and this is definitely for me. Also for those people who have been maybe hearing that or in crypto Twitter or Facebook account or whatever, do not enter a long here. If you entered a long down here, call it 7,200, 7,000, then yes, that would have been the right thing to do. But at these levels, we're right in the smack middle. I mean, that's such a high risk, high reward move that I would not recommend it unless you set like really tight stop losses, which you're very likely to get fished out anyway. As we do see these long wicks here, this one in particular, and then this one right here in particular, these are all signs of people just getting liquidated. Not massively. I mean, this wick isn't long enough to really liquidate a ton of people, but certainly some people who might have entered late into maybe a short here, a late short. It just doesn't make sense to start entering any longs or shorts at this point. Maybe I don't even want to get into this, but I would say maybe if we stay true to this formation here, then you naturally enter a long here, but we just don't know, right? We could actually break down from this. It's just too high of a risk. Down here, I'm definitely comfortable entering a long from this point, maybe a short from this point, but that was very hard to tell that this was going to be the top and we actually come back down and start forming a triangle. So very, very tricky. Don't recommend that you do that, and just keep in mind we are on a downtrend until we are not. You know, if I guess I can give you a hint, right? If we are to come back, maybe come back down, or even from here, from this point, and we do actually break above this descending line of resistance, and we start opening and closing some daily candles at this point, some daily candles above this area, you know, then things start, you know, to get interesting, right? But at this point, there's really nothing to be too excited about. We're also behind this pivot. We haven't even been able to retest this previous pivot at 8,500. We haven't been able to break above it, so you know, we're still very much, you know, in a medium or short term bearish trend and formation. Okay, so not the time to be making risky moves at this junction. Let's actually wait and see what happens here, and then you know, you can start making some moves, but not the right time at this point. All right, let's look at some EMAs here and see what they're telling us on the daily. Finding support above or below actually the 30 simple. This posture on the daily looks very bearish, in my opinion. Again, another indicator why you should not be entering any longs here. Should not be entering maybe some spot if you're looking to hold for the long term. You know, not financial advice, but you know, this is on a downtrend. You usually want to buy at the retest of support. Right, that's kind of where you want to make your entries. But again, not financial advice. I wouldn't advise you to do any of that. Do your own diligence, your own research. So another thing to on the shorter term of things, if we want to start to get a little bit more positive here, we definitely want to take over the 30 to the upside and start opening and closing some significant candles above it. So the 21 is also going to be an even bigger indicator. Again, the 30 doesn't usually represent a lot of resistance, but if we do, certainly we start to look at it a little bit more optimistically. If we take over the 21, again, the same thing. If we get above this area of descending resistance, if we take the 89, so on and so forth, we do have the 377 here coming in right in the smack middle of things, along with the 55. That'll also be pretty significant. But again, you know, as long as we're below this significant pivot, previous pivot at 85, 85.50, then there's not really anything to get too excited about. Okay, just keep that in mind. All right. So that is on the daily EMAs. Let's actually look at the weekly. Let's see here. So I can crank this up a bit. Not that much. All right. So from a weekly perspective, let's see. We are above the 200 simple here. That is pretty good, although it does seem to be wanting to break it. We did get above it on this previous weekly. We talked about this. You know, that would be a good sign if we actually break above it on the weekly and start opening and closing some weekly candles above it. Then that would be a great indicator, a really good indicator, something to be really positive. The fact that we're coming right back down and actually and now trading below it, as you do see here. Where's my indicator? Come on. Okay, there we go. So as we do see here, the price action is right below it, but it is a weekly. We still have plenty of days left on this weekly candle. Again, I want to see it turn things around if we are to remain on the more positive side of things. There is quite a gap between the 200 and the 55 coming in above it. 55 is coming in at 7,900. So you know, if this price action comes back up here, starts retesting and actually getting up top of it, then you know, that will actually you know, trigger maybe some longs at that point if we are to break above it and start again, and the price action just continues to rally upwards. But I mean, at this point, this is looking pretty bearish. I mean, it's below any major and simple moving average at this point, even at 200, which was, you know, we were hoping to find some support there. So the weekly is definitely letting us know that there is more room to the downside. Stochastic is retesting the bottom of the bearish control zone. If we can get on top of it and break out of there and have a retest of the 21, that's what we're talking about here. We'll get a little bit more positive on this posture, but at this point, it doesn't look very promising at all. I'm hoping that we're not going to break down below this this below the neutral zone area there, and then we actually get again get on top of that or start trading within the neutral zone so that we can maybe get rid of some resistance there and start looking at Bitcoin actually taking some action to the upside. All right. But at this point, again, the weekly is just letting us know that it's not time to get excited yet, unless you're looking for another re-entry point or a point where you can actually get back in and buy some more. Then at that point, I would tell you, yeah, that you're dead on. All right, from a 4-hour perspective, again, also looking very bearish. I mean, here's a 30. Everything we're right below everything. I mean, there's no reason to be optimistic at this point, right? Again, our drawing tools are letting us know that we are retesting this bottom area of the triangle. We're not breaking this here. This could be the point in which we start to turn things around, but there's no indication of that yet. We do have some long wicks here. Usually this particular one here on a downtrend would signal a reversal. The fact that it didn't, and then we followed it by another similar looking candle here that would traditionally also signify a reversal. Again, that's strike 2, and then we have another sort of an inverted hammer on again from a downtrend, inverted hammer looking like, and again continuation to the downside. I mean, you can't get any more bearish than that. But again, we are respecting this triangle, right? We're respecting this so far. Doesn't mean that we can't break it. It just really doesn't look good, and this is the 4-hour too. So keep those things in mind. Pretty much everything is signaling that it's that Bitcoin is really bearish at the moment, and just not giving us any signs to really be hopeful again. But again, the bottom has to be found somewhere. The bottom has to be found somewhere, and I mean, look at all this red action on the 4-hour. That's significant in my eyes. Again, these usually mean reversals after a downtrend. The fact that we haven't is bearish, but again, it also signifies that we potentially did reach the bottom of this downtrend here, short-term downtrend here. All right. So hopefully that is the case. All right. I'll try to keep it. Gosh, I try to keep these things short, and I always fail miserably. Let's actually get into some traditional markets, because I do think it is significant. Just the S&P just keeps breaking new all-time highs. Did it here? It did it here again, and then now we have a retest. This could potentially play out as a maybe as a double top. Let's actually look at the daily. It does look like it wants to correct, maybe retest the 21 here, or the 89 here, and actually, or I'm sorry, the 100 simple here, and actually come back and retest previous highs. Again, there's really nothing stopping the market right now. I mean, this is the beauty of a bull market, right? This is completely opposite of what's going on in Bitcoin. See, if you're a novice trader, look at the difference. Downtrend, uptrend, bull market, bear market, right? So I'm telling you, it would be so much easier to trade this. Now, I'll say this: be careful, because we've been on an extensive run to the upside, right? It has, from this bottom here all the way to where we're currently sitting. It's about 33% over 241 bars. That's 350 days. That's almost a year's worth of just continuous upside, with some minor corrections here and here and here again. But minor corrections along the way, but then just continuation to the upside. We did have some negative trade talks initially back here, back in July, the summer, where we did see the market react quite drastically to that, to the tune of about 6.75%. And but it just, again, we are in a bear market, and although these trade talks were very dreadful, very gloomy, we still the market is still on an uptrend, and it doesn't seem to have a quick end. Everybody was thinking, okay, this is the end of this bull market. We are going to start to correct to the downside and start finding some lower lows. But this market does not seem to be affected by any sort of bad news, and that is another indicator that this is an uptrend. We are within the S&P and traditional markets, we are on an uptrend. We are on a bull market, definitely. And it doesn't mean that this is the top, but it also doesn't mean that you should enter here. You should do your own due diligence before entering here. Right now, at this point, it doesn't look like a good point of entry to me. I will say this: if the impeachment conversation keeps on going and it actually happens, if it gets through, I think the Senate, I think it's now, it's now been placed on the Senate office. So if it actually gets through there, I do see some negative movement, some actual correction to the downside on that, because it would mean that a lot of these trade talks would probably worsen. Or these deals would get halted sort of in the middle of negotiations, and that's never good for these markets, right? So you just kind of have to stay tuned. But it does look though like it does have some legs to run into the new year, and maybe Q1 we start seeing a correction of this market. On the opposite side, we have gold, right? As the S&P continues on this uptrend, we do see gold taking a negative effect to that. As we do know, gold is sort of a hedge. So I will say this: as long as the traditional markets start or keep on this uptrend, we are going to see gold sort of correct to the downside. Once we do see a top off, blow off top, and we actually come back and start it's actually heading back down, we are going to see a lot of investors going back into gold, right? And that's going to make Peter Schiff very, very happy. Although he says he's a happy man regardless. But yeah, look out for that event. Once we blow off the top, we start correcting. People are going to start hedging into gold. You guys can easily get on any gold ETF or something like that, or gold trust, anything that holds gold, and you are almost certain to make some gains at that point. All right, so that is the traditional markets. Let's actually talk about some back to crypto. Let's talk about some XRP. Talk about another bad chart. We keep losing the lower lows, the previous pivot lows. Double bottom here on the shorter term of things. Not really having the reaction that it should. Also looking pretty gloomy there. Doesn't look like it wants to turn things around. Remember, this sort of crypto does have a high rate of inflation. I know that they usually will take the unused portion and put it back into a escrow account, blah blah blah. But I mean, look at the price. I mean, look at your ripples. I mean, you can't deny what's going on here, right? We're about to go retest these previous lows here from back in 2017. That is not a good chart. It's not a good looking chart at all. So again, just do your own due diligence from a 4-hour standpoint. Geez, I hate when I have to do that. But I mean, it's looking very, very bearish underneath, again, every moving average, but so is Bitcoin. I'll be fair. Just has a lot of work to do if it wants to start turning things around. There is sort of this ascending channel here going on, or wedge, if you will. It's not retesting this bottom here, so that's pretty good. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to actually go ahead and retest the bottom here before we retest the top here. But if we do follow on this trend, we did set a slight higher high over this point, higher low, higher low, higher low. I guess, I guess it's not too bad from a 4-hour standpoint. Again, that's the 4-hour, not a daily or weekly or anything like that. It's just a 4-hour. So we wait. Nothing really to get too excited about here. Link, I do like Link making this run when everything seems to fall asleep. Link just seems to put in all of the work. So we'll say that for this episode, we'll say that Link is to Bitcoin what gold is to traditional markets. If that makes sense, hopefully. Link acting like the hedge, going on a pretty nice little run while everything else is tanking. We do look at Bitcoin, downtrend, Link, uptrend. So yeah, it's everything goes to sleep and then Link just magically starts working on their shit. All right, so at this point, it does look like it wants to, gosh, it's caught in the middle. Did reject off the 200 EMA here, very significant point. I do think it did reject. I do think we're going to come back down just quite a little bit more, more towards the 30 simple here in this 89 EMA, and then maybe make another attempt at the 200. So I wouldn't enter just yet. Just looks like it wants to retest down here at the what is it, 219, 220, 219 range, and then from that point it does look like it might want to retest at 200. Little forward thinking here, but look at the stochastic RSI as well. Look at volume, plenty of buying volume. We are above the exponential here. As long as we remain there, there's a high chance that we actually do come back and retest that. And nice bounce off the 21 here within the neutral zone. Slightly, no, it looks like a even pivot here. But here's the thing: even pivot here from this point to this point. Yeah, we do have a higher high here, but a lower low or a lower high here. I don't think we're going to play out though. I don't think we're going to see any negative effect from this. I don't think so. If we are to have some negative effect, it probably already played out here. But we did have a nice bounce off the 200 simple there. All right, BNB losing this previous area of support, and now it's actually struggling to get back above it. Just a traditional flip of support and resistance here. It is now using it as resistance. So it's going to have to do some grinding work here to get on top of this previous pivot or previous area of support. As long as we remain below the 30, nothing to really get excited about. If we do retake or overtake the 30 and this previous area of support, then we start to get a little curious about, but really nothing to get excited about at this point in time. From a daily perspective, looking just terrible on the daily. Sorry, just doesn't look like anything that I want to get into at this point. Let's look at Litecoin. Just dreadful. Really nothing to talk about there. 4 hour. Gosh, these things have been pretty boring for the last week or so. I lost this previous pivot. Nah, not good. Now struggling to get above 44. Jesus, just nothing good. ETH. I guess it did hold this previous pivot, setting another higher low. But still, I mean, look, below every moving average, just looking pretty darn bearish. Is the daily looking any better? Nope, it's not. Nope, not at all. But again, this could be the point where things start to turn around, right? Especially if Bitcoin does start to make a move to the upside. Then that'll be probably something to really to really talk about. Let's see, where did we end up with GBTC? GBTC losing this exponential here, not a good thing. Hopefully that will not transpire, but I do think we might see this. We might see Bitcoin actually drop some more tomorrow. Yeah, have a retest of 7,000. You heard it here, folks. We are going to retest 7,000, in my opinion. We are going to break down below 7,100. You heard it here, folks. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but you heard it here first. If this happens, if we go back to retest, if we touch underneath 7,100, please retweet or share this video, please. I beg you. It would do me a huge honor. So make your, or put in your stop losses effectively, respectfully, as you will, based on what I just said. If you want to follow that, that's not, again, not financial advice, but that is what I am actually betting on. Right, and if it does play out, again, please share this video and also give it a like. ADA lost all of its luster and down, looking like an everyday shitcoin. XLM also looking like everyday shitcoin. VET not looking so bad, not so bad. I mean, just a nice retracement to the 55, actually bouncing off of 55. That's actually good. Although we did have continuation, but it's still pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't be too opposed to entering a trade somewhere in this region here. Even where we're at 0.0066. Not a bad place to enter. Maybe scale your way in if you want to, down to about 0.0058, or maybe just enter a sell order at 0.0058. Somewhere around there. It's not a bad idea. It does look like it does look like it wants to retest before a continuation to the upside, and we'll see from there. Yeah, stochastic is looking like it on the daily. It does look like it has a little bit more room to the downside. So yeah, maybe I could place a buy order right in those ranges. Looking at the 4 hour. 4 hour. We did just break. Well, not just, but we did break the 200 to the downside on the 4 hour. That's pretty significant. Hold that thought, guys. 4 hours is kind of giving a opposing signal. We are in the bearish control zone. Daily is saying that there's more room to the downside. We did, again, on the 4 hour lose the 200. It's a very, very significant. It's a very significant move there. So as long as we're to play it safe, as long as we're below the 200, I would not enter. We could actually come back and retest the 377 down here at around 0.00563. Yep. So yeah, I would advise against it until we actually break above the 200. Then it'd be a lot safer to re-enter there. All right, let's end that with EOS. Geez. As long as it's holding this previous pivot here, right where it's sitting at right now, it's got a little bit more room to go, but it's already looking like it wants to pick up. So EOS, as long as we're below the 30, it doesn't look like we're going to get anywhere. So not a time to enter a trade. Let somebody else do the work for you, and then you can take advantage of that. Somebody else's hard work. Daily does look pretty bearish, actually. Lost this previous pivot, significant area of support. It's now acting as resistance. The daily stochastic is looking like it wants to come back down some more. We could probably, on the daily, looks like we could probably come back and retest 2.40 daily, letting us know what's up. All right, guys, so I'll end it here. I do want to give a shout out to new subscribers. Anyone who's subscribed here in the last couple days, weeks or so, welcome to the community. I really appreciate you guys being here. It is an honor to have you. Please also engage with us down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Leave your comments below. And we always like it when you guys are engaged with us. So shout out to Cassidy and Michael Homung. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Cassidy, for signing up. Hope that you guys got something in exchange for your time here today. And I will see you guys on the next one. Have a great night.